G'day everyone, so great to see you today in this episode of Captain and the Coach with none other than the captain himself, Travis Crothers, and me, the coach, James McCracken. And today, Trav, what are we going to be discussing in what may well be our last episode of 2025?
Well, in the spirit of it being potentially the last episode, and I've been thinking a lot lately about doing a review on my performance this year, not only professionally but personally. I'm not a big one for New Year's resolutions, but it's a good opportunity to bookend the year and think about what 2026 is going to look like and where there's some areas for improvement. It's probably something that I'd like to unpack with you. You being a coach and being highly respected in the industry, and I highly respect your insights, and you've been very a lot of the things you've told me have been really impactful to my career, so it was a good opportunity to sort of steal you here in a bit of a public forum and get some insights and some feedback from you.
Cool. All right. Well, how about we try this, if it's all right with you, is instead of just doing it in an ad hoc fashion, which may or may not lead to a useful outcome, and also being cognizant of our players, our listeners who are tuning in and or watching this episode, is how about we do this based on how I would take our clients through this, where I would typically give them the opportunity to do an end of year review with me, and we essentially encapsulate, if you like, areas of growth, some challenges that they've worked through, some wins that they've had, and then that's almost like looking a little bit in the rear view mirror, and then now looking through the windscreen. So we're looking forward down the road in terms of where they want to take their organization or themselves for the year ahead. So if you're cool, we perhaps can follow that type of framework.
Definitely, this sounds a little bit confronting, but with a bit of confronting, there's probably growth on the other side of it. I'm in. Let's do it.
Alrighty. So let's start with this, which is from a growth point of view. When you think about the biggest challenges that you've grown throughout the course of this year, what are some challenges that have come to mind as far as business is concerned, primarily, and what did you learn about yourself or that you're proud of with respect to progressing beyond those challenges?
Yeah, I guess just to sort of give you an oversight of sort of how where my mindset currently is. I feel like this year, if you look at all my metrics, like everything has been tracking in the right direction. Like everything, like from a metric perspective, everything looks right. Like I guess the analogy would be I'm heading downhill into a tailwind, right? It's probably
Hmm.
what the metrics would look like. That is not where my mindset is. My mindset is probably more uphill into a headwind, despite all the metrics saying the opposite, right? I've been fighting that for the last period of time, whether I've been overworked this year or whether it's just the other thing that we might try and unpack, maybe you can give me some insights into this, is early in my career I was probably very naive and I didn't understand the level of commitment and the amount of work it was going to take. There's this analogy where it's going to take twice as long and 10 times the amount of work to actually achieve what you set out to achieve.
Yep.
I'm a little bit more experienced now in the industry and understand, and I know where I want to push the business to. And I think I probably have a better understanding now on what it's actually going to take. And whilst I'm not afraid of hard work and that level of commitment, when I started this business, I never thought I would have been working as hard as what I am today. And so I've lost that naivety, and I don't know if it's messing with my mindset, but that's probably something that I'm playing with. That doesn't really answer your question, but does it?
Doesn't, but let me just ask you this. Are you okay with losing the naivety and being okay with recognizing that in order for you to achieve the results you want, that you need or effectively are required to put in a certain amount of work to produce those outcomes?
Yeah, I am. I am prepared to do the work, but what I'm not prepared to do is I'm not prepared to sacrifice my family and my relationships anymore to do that. I wouldn't. If you ask my wife or my kids, yeah, like I do work a lot, and there is this thing around like if you're trying to be an elite operator in any particular in any particular area, it's not around being passionate about it's around obsessing over it. And I've probably obsessed over the business and over my performance as a broker and a business owner for a long period of time now. And as I said, I wasn't a bad husband or a bad father, but my focus moving forward is transitioning more to that. And it's around trying to make sure that the business still progresses forward. And I think so. I am open to it, but I need to be a little bit more strategic about how I do it. Previously, a couple of years ago, I would white knuckle it and it would muscle the business to where I wanted it to be, not through skill, more through
Yep.
will.
Yep.
I've been really, really fortunate over the last couple of years to be surrounded by some amazing people, you being one of them, where I've watched some people where I wouldn't say what they do is effortless, but what they're doing, that they seem to be able to achieve the same result as I can or a better result than what I can, but it seems to be less effort. It's just probably because they were more talented or more experienced or more strategic about the way they do things. So I've been watching and learning from them, and I'm finding that I can now accomplish things with less output, and that's probably my goal for 2026.
Interesting. So let's just go a little step further here. Do you think, in the absence of you having given consideration to certain aspects of business operations, is that your mindset was it needs to be an effort based thing only, and perhaps as opposed to how to be more strategic, how to leverage time, how to use other people more effectively, how to engage tech more effectively? Not that you haven't done some of those things, because you clearly have. But do you think that the mindset was one around it needs to be massive effort, and that was maybe first and foremost for you?
Definitely. I didn't prepare for this. So if I knew we were going to talk about this, I've got an affirmation. It's what is it? Where I'm gonna butcher it, but this is something I can't remember whether I heard it somewhere or whether I come up with it myself. It's around when skill escapes you, effort is a satisfactory substitution or something, right? So
Sure.
I've destroyed the affirmation, but essentially it's like if I don't have if I don't possess the skills to get the outcome,
Yep.
I'll just throw effort at it. I'll just throw effort and effort and effort and effort and effort, and I won't stop until I achieve the result. Was it efficient? No. But nonetheless, I got the outcome that I desired. It might have taken me longer. It might have been a hell of a lot more effort. I've gone in 10 other different directions where some of the colleagues that I've spoken about previously, it's more of a straight line. Like they would probably get there in half the time with half the effort purely because based on their experience or their particular skill set. So it's around me trying to listen and learn and yeah, become more strategic in that respect.
Yeah, well, look, I think there's something to be said for being prepared to invest the effort, right? Which, I've said to my son in the past it's actually not that hard to be outstanding at some things, because most people aren't prepared to put in the effort to be outstanding. And I know that's a bit harsh, but I tend to hold that view in general about a lot of things. And whilst at the elite level, the competition is fierce, and getting from, really good to outstanding can be difficult. Notwithstanding is investing effort is a great substitute for other things that may be lacking. But as you've also got the emotional intelligence there, is to recognize that whatever shortcomings may have been there around strategic thinking, or being able to, again, leverage time, leverage tech, leverage people, and so forth, and engage and connect with other smart people, is some of those other attributes are coming together that make someone pretty grounded. Because I think if you've got those attributes in addition to a strong work ethic, well, yeah, really, you can be an unstoppable force.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess that's what I'm working on at the moment. Like if I feel like I've muscled the business to a certain level of success and now it's around trying to do it with a bit more finesse. And you said it a couple of times already around relying on the workforce that's around me. Like, I mean, like I think Vertus is now with our contracts 15 or 16 under the brand at the moment.
Yep.
So it's around trying to leverage some of them. And that's a challenge in itself.
And a growth opportunity as well. So going back to my question, and thinking about specific constraints or problems that you've experienced or hardships, was there anything that really comes to mind as far as one of those challenges is concerned for this year?
Yeah, let's volume. So I feel like, especially probably this financial year, I feel like I'm past capacity on volume. Like I I built like we've spent 5,000 hours building out systems and processes, build out our AI projects, build all these things to make us run more efficiently. But at the end of the day, I'm still the bottleneck.
Yep.
There's only so many calls I can take a day. Whilst I am training my team up and we've brought on new brokers to sort of take on some of that capacity, they're not at a level yet where they can run a deal completely independently. So yeah, vault capacity is probably one of the big ones for me. Is when I get a new lead now, sometimes it's anxiety, it's not excitement, which is probably not a good thing.
Interesting. So thinking forward here and just being cognizant of time, what incompletes do you have? In other words, what unfinished business is there for you as far as projects or initiatives or outcomes that you're wanting to achieve for 2026 or beyond?
Okay, I'll start wide and then I'll laser in, right? So I guess the way that I explain Vertis at the moment is it's too big to be small and too small to be big. We're in that valley of despair where we're just not. My ultimate goal is to be off the tools and hand back all my accreditations and have the team writing my entire volume, which is probably a pretty big task, and it's pretty scary if I'm being completely honest. So the question again, sorry, if you can.
Incompletes, unfinished business. So, for example, like categorically, your AI stuff that you have begun working on would be an incomplete, and maybe that'll be incomplete for years because that'll continue to evolve. But that will be an example of an incomplete. An incomplete would also be maybe wanting to recruit more brokers into the firm in order to achieve economies of scale. I guess as an extension of what you're just talking about, then.
Yeah, so that's two really good points, right? So if you talk about my AI projects that I'm currently building, and then you talk about my systems and processes, which are essentially built within the broker engine ecosystem, they're never going to be complete. I If I handed back my accreditations right now and I could just go into building projects, I could work, if I wanted to, I could work 80 hours a week for the next 5 years just building out projects for
Yeah.
the team and
Yeah.
building the brand. And there's probably real value in that. There's a challenge where, like, if I was off the tools, it reduces the EBITDA of the business because I'm paying people and whether they can perform at a level I can perform at. But then there's an argument that's been posed to me by a colleague of mine going, but Trav, if you're off the tools and you're building and iterating and innovating, you're building this enterprise value, and you're a lot, what you just said before around attracting more brokers. So
Mhm.
if I've like, and that's always been the ultimate goal. That's just to build this. Our UVP would be this amazing piece of tech that I've got this vision in my mind that brokers that are writing 30 to $40 million a year that want to become a $100 million broker, they're like, we need to go to Vertis. The systems, the processes, the IP, the AI projects, all that gives me the ability to increase my capacity and increase my performance to get to that $100 million a year broker. That would be my ultimate goal, right? So yeah, that's definitely something that work to be done.
So does that mean for next year you will be looking to grow your volumes, maintain your volumes, or potentially reduce your volumes as relates to knowing you want to have this balance between being efficient, being able to contribute and enhance the performance of your brokers, whilst also being able to be present with your family?
Hmm. Really good question. There's something in me that always just wants to write more volume. Always. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like I always had this idea of, you know what I mean? Like if I remember when I wanted to settle 5 mil a month. You know what I mean? Where
Mm.
like we settled the business settled 20 last month, probably 12 of that was mine. I'll probably settle something similar this month, right? If you
Yep.
told me 5 years ago that Trav, you're gonna settle $10 million a month on month, I'd say you're dreaming. And now I'm doing it. And if you say, so you're happy, I'm like, no, no, well, what do I need to do to get to 15 or 20 a month, right? Which is, it's sort of conflicting in my mind because I want to get off the tools, yet I'm trying to chase more volume. And like, so it's sort of, I just, yeah, I need to get, I'm clear on what my goal is, which is to be off the tools and have that contractor model, the high performance contractor model running with that economy of scale, which allows me to be off the tools. But there's still this competitive streak inside me that, like, I see people that settle $250 million a year. I'm like, I want to do that. But the reality is I'm never going to do that because of my strategy moving forward. But there's still this little piece inside me that if I never do that, I don't know, maybe I failed. But I don't know. I'm confusing myself here, I think.
Maybe if you got to 250, would that be enough? And then would it need to be 300? Because a lot of what you're saying is fair enough and completely driven by some version of ego.
Mm,
Whether you're competing against the broader marketplace or whether you're just competing against yourself, which
yeah.
is perhaps a more sustainable way to operate. Though I'll also say this is it's harder to get off the tools the more you're on them. So, if you're going from 10 mil to 12 to 15 to 20, then, it just exacerbates the point you were talking about before about being the bottleneck or the fulcrum. And I think elongates the intent to transition off at some point, albeit you've got the funds in which to help facilitate that change. It can become a more challenging one.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and that's where I'm sort of my goal has always been to probably have one more big year, have a really, really big year and grow the book. And then I can lean on that book. Yeah, I mean, when there's another, let's say $150,000 of trail on the book, I mean, that's another staff member, maybe
Yep,
two.
which you can invest into, yeah, getting more resources that can help support the change.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
So, thinking about your processes, how, if at all, do you want your processes to be different to help facilitate the improvement in performance for yourself, let alone the continued, I guess, enhancement of performance for the team and seeing them continue to do better as well?
I think we've just come to terms with our systems and processes and the projects we're building. They're just something that's just they're never ever going to be complete. We're building new templates every day. We're adjusting workflows in our AI projects. We're iterating, innovating every day. It's just something, it's just a habit that we're in, right? So it's not, in my opinion, it's never ever going to end. If I want to keep my competitive advantage, I have to keep pushing in that space. I can't sit back on my heels and go, you know what? We've built what we've built. We're positioned ourselves in the market where we have a great UVP. Let's just cruise for a bit. Like I think we've got to push harder now than we ever have because everyone is starting to do it now. Where 5 years ago, 6 years ago, talk about broker engine, people were just like, oh, you know what? Yeah, it sounds cool, but I don't need it. Now everyone is on some form of CRM platform. Everyone is using AI. Everyone is starting now to do these things. So it's going to become more competitive. So I need to keep pushing hard in that space. So I don't think I'll ever be done there. What I'd probably like to do for 2026 is probably spend more time on it and less time on like it's trying to find that being a broker and being a business owner. Like I probably need to spend more time being a business owner next year than I do being a broker. And it's around I've sort of tied my identity. It's like when I was a police officer, I was a police officer for 15 years and transitioning out of that, it was hard, right? Most of my adult life, that's what I identified as. For the
Sure.
last 6 or 7 years, I've identified as even though I own a business, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a business owner just yet. I consider myself, well, like we spoke about in the past, it's a high paying job. It's when I'm off the tools, then I'm a business owner. So it's around changing my identity, transitioning from the broker to the business owner.
That will probably be one of the most profound changes you can make and will almost certainly have a significant difference in terms of the decisions that you commit to and what you follow through on. And I'll be interested to see what the outcome is because I know other coaches, run one I can think of. He runs or used to actually, he sold it. It was a $36 million coaching business. It was US, by the way, for HVAC. So heating, ventilation, air conditioning business owners. And he said the most powerful thing he can do is to help them transition their identity from being a heating specialist or an air conditioning guy to being a high performing business owner. And that evolution of their thinking help them grow more substantial businesses as well.
Very, very tough to do. And I think a lot of people in our industry have this misguided belief that they can just do it. Like, so I use the analogy, I can put a nail in the wall, but it doesn't mean I can build a house.
Hmm.
So just because I can write a home loan, it doesn't necessarily mean that I can run a high performing mortgage broking business. So
Yep,
a lot
agreed.
of people think, well, I'm a mortgage broker, I can be a business owner. You can't. I'm not saying not saying you can't. I'm not saying it's not just a basic transition, right? Like, and this is where I would like to think I look at myself and I think that I've got some particular skills that would work well as a business owner. I think I've probably got a lot of work that I need to do to improve on different things, and that's probably going to be my focus. But when the rubber hits the road, I can't tell you whether I'm actually going to be a very high functioning high performing business owner. I will know that maybe in 3 to 5 years' time when I'm actually when the runs are on the board, when I've got the undeniable proof. I've got the undeniable proof that I'm a high performing broker. What I don't have is I don't have the undeniable proof that I'm a high performing business owner yet. So
Yep.
it's yet to be seen.
Yeah, man. Well, it's a bit like broking insofar as the results usually a dividend of the work, same as when your pipeline or the settlements is usually a dividend of the pipeline and the activity that you've done over a period of months or longer to get yourself to that point. By the way, it sounds to me like that goes back to one of your incompletes is to make some type of identity shift to help embrace more of the thinking, the behaviors that are consistent with being your version of a high performing business owner, which, by the way, I think for your own benefit, it's probably worth writing some of that down as to what you think a high performing business owner looks like. So you've got at least an aspect or a perspective around what you anticipate to be the behaviors or the values or the beliefs. And whilst that's a little potentially open for interpretation around certain values and beliefs and behaviors, I think it's a good starting point just so you can identify, well, which parts of where I'm at are maybe needing to evolve or change or grow to help me transition towards this outcome that I think is right for me or think will help produce better outcomes for the business and or for my life.
I've literally just written that down. I'm going to do that today. That's a really good takeaway from this session. That's what I'm going to do. Sit down today and write down them, and then I can do a bit of a self-evaluation. 𝗏 Goodman, obviously, I've spoken about him before. He's a good friend of mine and very, very smart guy. He talks about in his business, he gets paid on the decisions that he makes. That's what he does. He's a business owner. He gets paid on the decisions he makes. And when he said that, it sort of resonated with me, and I started thinking about that. I need to transition to like I don't get paid on the deals that I settle. Well, that's what I do get paid on right now,
Sure.
but I need to transition myself to be getting paid on those decisions. So I need to. It's very hard to measure those decisions too, because some of them, like, it's a long tail for some of this stuff. So you're making strategic decisions that might not pay off for 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, who knows? And how do you measure it in enterprise value or in EBITDA or, I mean, there's so many different, when broking is quite easy.
You can hypothesize, though, as to what you anticipate to be the net benefit of a decision. In other words, if you do a certain thing, what do you anticipate to be the area that it will most positively affect, whether that's efficiency, whether that's volumes, whether that's trail book or customer retention. And if it's those two things, chances are it will positively impact business value anyway. So, it doesn't need to be just one thing. It could be potentially a host of different things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think going through that exercise around looking at what skills a high performance business owner possesses and seeing which of those skills sort of that I feel like I'm performing well in, and which of those skills I probably need some work. I need to work on, and I probably need to get some input from people like yourself on. Yeah, it's definitely going to be my key takeaway from here to work on for 2026.
So, what about this then? Is knowing that you want a certain lifestyle as well. I'm just curious if you're expecting or anticipating or intending to increase your volumes, yet you also want more time with the family. How do you think you'll make that happen?
Yeah, so look, we just put on a new industry broker that will probably take on some of that volume to a certain extent. We're in early conversations with certain people around probably replacing me on the boutique side of the business. So essentially taking on all my volume. This is something that won't be done, to be honest, at the complete earliest. This is a next financial year, but we're probably putting our feelers out there to try and look for people that could probably handle writing the level of volume that I write.
So,
Um,
does that mean a salaried loan writer, like a high performing loan writer? Is that what you're anticipating?
yeah, yeah. So bringing on somebody that would under our systems and processes, using our support, would have the ability to settle north of $1 million, $100 million a year is what we'd be looking for.
Yep.
So obviously they got access to a pretty big team. They got access to some pretty slick systems and processes, right? But there's no hiding behind it. They need to be very proficient at what they do. There's a lot of people who would like to say that there's a lot of proficient brokers, but as soon as you start throwing volume at them, they struggle. And it's nothing. I'm not having a go at
Don't
those
worry about
particular
other
people.
people. Just tell me about you. What are you going to do?
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to replace myself on the boutique side of the business.
Interesting.
Is the goal.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing it happen, and that will in turn help facilitate the outcome of being able to produce a sustainable high level of volume, whether that's 12 mil, 15 mil, or more per month, whilst then also getting time back in your day to reallocate towards quality of life. Is that what you're thinking, or is that the intention?
Yeah, yeah. So the goal in the next 3 to 5 years is to be working 30 hours a week on the business, not in the business. So handing back all my accreditation, so I can't write a home loan in the next 3 to 5 years, even if I wanted to. So we'd have a couple of salaried brokers on the boutique side writing all the Vertus generated leads.
Yep.
And we might the overflow through to our contractors and probably increase our high performance contractors. We're currently one, two, four contractors, probably increasing that to 15 or 20 I would like at some point. That's ideally where we'd want to be. Like those contractors, they're not hugely profitable. We run pretty small margins on them, so we need economy of scale to make that work. At the moment, at four contractors, it's not like
Yeah.
it's not
But just
losing
just to
money,
be
but it's
clear,
not losing money, but it's not putting food on the table either.
yeah, so you're not generating a significant revenue and profit from an individual, and therefore four times that at the moment is not, a life-changing thing for you. But if you could max that out by having another 10 to 15 in there, in addition to what you've got, then that could become a fairly worthwhile initiative.
Yeah, yeah, we worked it out the other day. I think 60 something percent of revenue is driven by me in the business.
Sure.
So we need to inverse that. Right, like
Yep.
the first goal is for 60 to 70% of the revenue to be driven by the contractors. And then obviously get to a point where hopefully none of the revenue is driven by me.
Which would be exciting. And then that'll in turn necessitate, as I'm sure is already the case, being cognizant of how to manage their requirements, their needs, and essentially think about the culture of the business because staff or broker retention and engagement will be important to you at that point because essentially if you're driving your lifestyle and your income through their performance and their retention, then obviously you'll want to create an environment and an offer and a proposition that compels them and facilitates and enables them to stay and to perform and to enjoy themselves and to feel like they can essentially hitch their show to your wagon, if you like, without feeling the need or the obligation to want to go and shop themselves around and see what else is out there. So,
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
leads back. Oh, so you go. Sorry.
well, I was going to say, I'm sure you're already aware of that, but it'll probably become more prevalent as you bring on more people because that's just, it seems to be a consistent theme.
Yeah, and that's where we battle at the moment, right? I'm writing reasonably good volumes, right? And then we're trying to build out the tech. So if I can't continue, I've got to manage my time between both roles in the business, right? Where if I was just building out the tech, I could iterate and innovate that at a far faster pace and probably to a better quality, right? And then what we're doing is we're building this offering that it's impossible for them to go build for themselves.
Yeah.
So yes, they could go and negotiate a better split if they went directly to an aggregator, but they're not going to get the level of service that they get with us. So they're essentially like we don't have a lock-in period with our brokers. They can leave on 5 minutes notice if they really want, and we don't plan on changing that. It holds us as a business accountable to go, if we don't keep iterating and innovating and providing a great product, they can up and leave the second they want. So
Yeah.
what we want to do is we want to build an offering that it's not that they don't want, they can't leave because they've got it too good. They've got it
I get
that
it.
good. They're going, they do like,
Uh,
I mean, the support, the systems, the tech, everything and the brand, everything
the
is so
quality of the
strong.
people, the
Yeah.
support within the organization internally, the sum total of all of those parts.
100%, and that's where you just get them hooked on it. It's almost like a drug. They love the culture, they love the brand, they love the offering, and they're going, could they possibly go build it themselves? Maybe. Are they prepared to? Hell no.
Of
Let's
course.
just
Yep.
let's just stay where we are. We've got it too good here. I'm happy to, and what I'm paying is fair and reasonable for what I am getting.
Yeah, I get it. So, I mean, it sounds like it's an exciting journey forward, right, in terms of the focus and the outcomes that you want to achieve, and knowing that there's some, as you said before, some key strategic decisions to be made in terms of allocation of current and future resources, money, time, tech, in order to support you, and then the evolution that you'll embrace in terms of some changes to yourself that will help lead this charge whilst also bringing everybody along on the journey with you so that they can enjoy the success that you're working hard to facilitate for them as well.
Definitely, it's well put.
Thanks, man. I've had a bit of training of doing this. Is there anything else you wanted to add just in terms of commentary for what you're envisaging for 2026 or beyond?
Yeah, probably on a personal basis. Like I got this thing for 2026. I want to be where my feet are. So if my feet are under the desk, I'm thinking about work. When my feet are standing in front of my wife, I want to be concentrating on my marriage. And like my plan is, I said 2026, I want to be where my feet are, and I plan on my feet being in the sand at the beach, watching my kids run around or swim. So Santa's been pretty good to us this year. I think Santa's bringing us a caravan, a couple of motorbikes. So the plan next year is to work really, really hard for periods. So there will be some 80-hour work weeks going on, but then there's going to be a lot of breaks. So I might push really hard for 2 or 3 weeks, then we'll grab the van and we'll take off for 5 days. So that's sort of how I sort of envisage managing my workload, managing my work-life balance, and still propelling myself to that point where I can start transitioning off the tools because I can't just sit back and coast my way to where I want
Yeah.
to get to. I've still got to work extremely hard, and I've probably got to lean on some people and get some advice on how I can do it more strategically and more, not, let's not call it effortlessly, but like with less force. But
Deliberately.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, more deliberately. That's probably a good way of putting it, right? So I've been formulating this strategy now for a while, and I've had a lot of people that've had a lot of input, and it seems to be evolving to a point where I think it's actually achievable. So now 2026 is around going out and achieving it without killing myself. 2 years ago, I would have just went, I'll just work 80 hours a week for another 18 months and I'll get there. And I'm like, I'm not prepared to do that anymore. I am
No,
prepared to work 80 hours a week in periods, but I'm not going to do it for months on end like I once would.
yeah, that's a fair call, mate. And yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect time to. I'll say that again. I feel like I mumbled. There's no such thing as a perfect time to create the change. And so now's as good a time as any. It's a bit like investing, right? Is you could
Mm.
always hang around, but it was better to buy a property yesterday than it is today, and so on and so forth. Hey, mate, can I just say it's been a pleasure to hang out with you this year in terms of doing these episodes. I look forward to us being back in 2026 and contributing and furthering the industry and adding value to our current and future players, our audience, and hopefully inspiring them, empowering them, giving them some insights and perspectives that can support them in terms of their journey as well. And so thanks very much for the chance to do this with you. And also thanks to our audience for the opportunity to get your feedback. We've enjoyed some of the comments and thoughts and the DMs that we've received. And so glad to know that we're hitting the mark, at least in some of the episodes, if not as many of them as possible. And I look forward to furthering that into the year ahead. And you'll probably see us come live from one or two venues, at least one overseas at some point with Trav as well, which would be good.
Yeah, so same goes for me. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot doing this year with you. It's really you've obviously been somebody that I've become reasonably close to industry, and I've taken a lot of key takeaways from you over the years, and this opportunity to be in this sort of format with you, the learnings that I've taken away from this year have been amazing. I almost feel like I've started my career almost again. Like you get to like I was the rate of learning I had when I entered this industry was pretty high, and it sort of tapered off a little bit. And I feel like the rate of learning this year, working with you on this and a couple other things, has been really exciting, and I'm really excited to continue it.
Me too, dude. All right. Well, on that note, let's wrap this up for this year. Thanks everyone for your participation, your contribution. We'll look forward to seeing you in the year ahead, and hope it's a great year for you with success personally, professionally, and in any other endeavors you aspire to achieve.